Weigers.
Oh, there, the boys here.
Oh, here's the boss.
Oh, quiet, everybody. Shh.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
He's waking up. He's waking up.
No, I'm quite awake actually. I had a little bit of trouble in the fact that Zoom wouldn't let me into my account because for some reason I couldn't get the password right this morning. It doesn't happen often, but you know, it's like, oh, okay. So I had to go back in and reset the password. And, oh my God. Anyway, we're here. Happy Monday. How's everybody doing?
Oh, we're doing fine.
Yeah. Anybody do anything interesting over the week?
Let's see. No, 9/11 celebration or memory.
No, you didn't get one of your neighbors on your couch yet?
No.
Hondo? No.
Well, both of them, they were celebrating their holidays.
Oh, okay. All right.
So they were busy with family and things.
Okay. All right. I understand that. Let's see how that works. Okay. Let's see who we got here. We got 9 of us. Yay. Okay. So Betty's here, June's here, John is here, Ilan, Veronica, Bob, and Armando. And Eloise. Yeah, you're here. Okay, good. All right. All right. So everybody doing okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. No drama or anything going on in life for anybody?
Well, yeah, but you don't want to hear
There's always drama.
Always, yeah.
Okay.
What did you learn in your class?
Oh, what did I learn in my class? It was a bit overwhelming, actually. There was so much stuff there. Unfortunately, okay, and this is just my take on it. I was wanting something a little more technical, and this was really, it was a lot about marketing on the internet and getting, you know, and selling stuff, you know, of which is, I mean, in a way, yes, it's a good idea to learn that kind of stuff. But I was really kind of looking and hoping for more technical aspects of, you know, like how do you actually put together a podcast and what kind of equipment do you need? And we got into some of that. But it was really far more marketing oriented than I was personally, you know, thrilled about. So, you know, and everybody there had something to sell, you know. They had some course or something that they were, you know, trying to market to you. So it's like, I mean, there was good information there, but it was, you know, it could have been focused a little more on, it's like, you know, putting together a podcast, or how do you tie your podcast to your YouTube channel and your Zoom channel and your Facebook page and Instagram and all that. And, you know, I talked to a few people there, and there are ways of doing all of that. And so, you know, you can learn a lot, you know, by attending a conference like that. And I picked up some good information that I'm going to start trying to apply to, you know, some of the classes, particularly around creating content and editing content and sharing it, because, you know, I need to get all the particulars on this, but evidently there's some way that I can send you, all of you on my mailing list, I can send you a lot of this information, you know, directly. And, you know, so that would, you know, make it more accessible to you as well. So, you know, that's a little bit about, you know, what I learned over the 3 days. And those are long days, you know, because they started at 10 in the morning. They didn't end until 8 at night. So it was kind of like a, you know, this one kind of presentation after another. And so, you know, yeah, I got some good stuff out of it. So anyway, today, being that what we're looking for out of this class is inspiration, I have put together an eclectic mix of things for you to look at, and some of the stuff is a little kind of out there, in the far field, and we're going to start way out, and then we'll kind of rein ourselves in, okay? And so there was an artist. His name was Alexander Weigers. Has anybody ever heard of him?
No.
Well, Weigers was kind of a strange bird. He ended up settling in Carmel, California, and built his own house there. But he actually has a patent on flying saucers. Okay, he designed and built flying saucers, and he's got a U.S. patent for them. Okay, and it's an interesting story. And so I want to share that with you. But primarily, what he did was he was a printmaker, but he was also a sculptor, right? And he's got some interesting stuff. So I'm going to share that with you, and then I've got some images to show you of his work as well. And then, well, like I said, we'll get a little more to the, more. Can you call it normal type stuff? I don't know. Anyway, so we're going to take a look at Alexander Weigers here, if I can find him. Let's see. Weigers, where are you? Well, okay. Yes, okay. There he goes. I only got about 8 of these up here. So let's see. Now can I find the right one? That's not him. It's the abstract lady. Whoop. Don't do that. Ah, here he is. Okay. All right. Everybody see a guy sitting in a chair? Okay. Good. We got the right screen. That's what we want. And all right. Let me back this up so we can start from the very beginning. And away we go.
This is the story about a forgotten genius. A gifted sculptor, artist, and modern-day Leonardo da Vinci, whose UFO-like invention was the realm of pure science fiction. But it's also a story about this man, his fixation with the past, and living on borrowed time. A couple of years ago, I got this email from a guy named Randy Hunter, who was promising me the greatest nonfiction story never told. It was about this inventor who lived here in the outskirts of Silicon Valley. He had done all sorts of amazing things, but he'd been forgotten by history. And for one reason or another, I bit on this email. And for the last 2 years, I've been coming to this guy, Randy Hunter's place, where he has built a temple to his obsession, which is this inventor. What are you doing in here, man?
I got another big batch of photos. A few minutes to look at this.
Yeah. Meet Randy, a successful art dealer and fine art collector. And this is the guy he wants everyone to know about, Alexander Weigers.
Well, hi, folks. Well, in the last 12 years, we have worked incredibly hard to bring you colour in your life and all the great artists that come with it from across the world. But I'm reaching out today. I don't normally do this, and I haven't done it before, I must admit, but I'm just reaching out to say that we would like your help. We need your help to keep our business afloat and running. Due to obviously the lockdowns and the fact that Colour in Your Life does travel to artist studios to film them for the series, we have found that we have not been able to move around, and that was part of our business model. We still want to do Colour in Your Life. I think it's benefited a great deal of people across the world and made a huge difference to the artists that we film and also the people that watch the series in 50 countries these days. So it's pretty amazing what we've done.
Hey, Dad.
Weigers was born in 1901 in the Dutch East Indies. As a teen, he moved to Europe to study engineering and then moved to the US to study sculpting. Near the end of World War II, Weigers settled in Carmel, California. And it's here he carved out a most unusual life. He built a house made entirely from recycled materials and objects crafted by hand in his blacksmith studio. Weigers' ability to live off objects that other people threw away turned him into a cult figure. Youngsters traveled from around the world to take his tool making and sculpting classes. They also came to marvel at his art.
This is probably the most photographed Weigers so far.
Randy discovered Weigers in 2008, when for the first time, his sculptures were put on sale. Randy snapped up the lot. As an art dealer, he had dreamed of hitting it big by finding an unknown artist and making him famous, and figured that Weigers was his man.
This sculpture is my favorite one.
But what started as a business deal turned into a life-altering passion. Over the next 10 years, Randy spent countless hours and millions of dollars tracking down Weigers' sketches, personal belongings, and all the finished artwork he could lay his hands on. He produced a movie about Weigers, wrote a book about him, and became convinced he discovered a hidden genius. What draws you in? What makes you fascinated about this man?
I immediately fell in love with him because it was just like my style. I could see the depth in his work immediately, and he needed to be shared with the public.
The version of Randy you're seeing is more sedate than the affable, chatty salesman I first met. In late 2017, he started to lose a multi-year battle with cancer, and painkillers made it tough to get around and think straight. Go ahead.
Sure.
A few months ago, his cancer came back, and as you'll see, he's not at his best. He's not the same guy that he used to be, and it's a difficult part of the story. His whole mission has been to make this Weigers man as famous as he can be, and Randy might not get to see the end of that story.
This is his drawings, blueprints.
Okay, how do you find all this? Look at this, man. This is all these letters.
Dig in, man.
During his hunt into Weigers' life, Randy discovered something extraordinary. Hand-drawn designs for an exotic aircraft dating back to the 1920s. Alex appeared to have invented the very first flying saucer.
That was an amazing find in itself. When I saw the blueprints, it was undeniable that he was the creator.
Weigers called his futuristic flying machine the Discopter. Designed to take off vertically and float on a cushion of air, it was a unique concept, and one he thought cities of the future would make full use of. Weigers patented the Discopter in 1944, and then tried to sell it. He starts sending all of these letters to all kinds of companies, telling them about his invention. As word of the Discopter began to spread, Alex felt the US military stole the idea. It was an accusation they denied. But for Weigers, evidence of the theft was there for all to see, as images of his flying saucer seeped into popular culture, influencing everything from architecture to cars and movies.
A two-seater, ready soon, may be the car or chopper of the future.
There's this whole flurry of stories. Weigers, first with saucer. Dutchman says he designed flying saucer 23 years ago. The man who invented the flying disc. He didn't really seem to be after compensation as much as recognition that he'd done something important and wanted a bit of credit for it. Spoiler alert, the discopter never became a reality. But the flying saucers it inspired live on in Randy's collection of UFO memorabilia. This is the room that I think of as the ultimate Randy room. This is the tribute to the discopter. You've got books, you've got toys, everything you could ever imagine about UFOs. To me, this room has always represented the heart of who Randy is. He's this guy with a passion that I think we would all envy and hope to have for something, but also that bit of his character where he can go too far and gets obsessed to the point where some people, I think, would think he's a little nuts. How has your family and friends reacted to this over years as you've gotten deeper into it? Do they think you're a crazed man or?
How crazy you are, I think, depends on how much money you spend on your project.
A couple of years ago, Randy and his partner Kathy forked out $1.6 million for the land where Weigers used to live. While the original house is gone, Randy's been busy, turning his new home into a temple to all things Weigers. This is Randy's workshop, and this is the room that I think ties him and Alex together. There's a mix of Randy and Alex's tools and the molds of Weigers sculptures all lined across the room. Outside, work has started on rebuilding Weigers' artist studio and blacksmith shop. And there are plans for a brand new Weigers museum, and a UFO fire pit is also in the works.
It'll be shaped like a discopter. And when you're actually burning a fire, it would be obvious from 100 feet in the air that there's a flying saucer on this property.
You might think Randy has more money than sense. And let's face it, he hasn't managed to make Alexander Weigers and the discopter household names. At least not yet. But in Weigers, Randy discovered a kindred spirit. A man who chose to live by his own rules and who created a legacy using his own two hands. What would you say to Alex if you saw him now? I wondered if you had dreamed about that moment or anything.
I did dream about meeting him.
Yeah?
Figured it was the spirit of Weigers, basically telling me I'm doing the right thing and I should continue with my mission.
There we go. All right. Let me see.
Interesting. Randy Hunter.
Well, yeah, he was the dealer. Okay, he was the art dealer, who, found Weigers' work. Now, interestingly enough, I don't think that Randy ever met Weigers, because I think Weigers had already died by the time that he came across his work, and but he saw an opportunity there, because you have a large body of work, but not only the large body of work, you also have all the original molds and cast, for the bronzes and various sculpture pieces that he's got. Plus, he had a huge amount of documentation you know, on this particular man. And, you know, Weigers had a really interesting life. And, you know, Randy was looking at a business opportunity to capitalize on the work that was there. And, you know, he, you know, in all, I think, you know, it's great business opportunity, but you have to get people interested, you know, in the work. And that's the thing, you know, it's, you know, markets are always really fickle about, you could be doing, you know, some of the best stuff in the world. And, you know, if you don't make the right connection, if the right person doesn't see it, if the right collector doesn't buy it, you know, it can go nowhere. You know, that's the unfortunate truth, you know, about creating art or trying to live as an artist. And so a lot of the struggle is always, you know, how do you get the work out there? You know, you could be doing, you know, just mind-blowing, amazing stuff, but if you don't get it out there in the world for people to see it, you know, it's not going to go anywhere. So, you know, that being said, I'm going to share with you, we're going to look at some of Weiger's work. You saw a lot of the UFO stuff, but, you know, there was more to him than just that, okay? Let's see, can we get the share screen to open? Yes, okay. Yes, right there. So he, you know, when you look at his work, let's see, was this him? Nope, that's Muñez. Like I said, I got a lot of stuff open here. That's not him. So I gotta go find him. Anyway, he's buried down there somewhere in that stack of stuff. Let's start spreading this out a little bit. Maybe it'll be easy to get to. Anyway, he very good sculptor. But interestingly enough, not only the sculpture, but he was known really as a blacksmith, and he basically created a lot of new smithing tools, and had a huge following for that. And okay, so can everybody see this guy sitting there with a chisel carving on this big piece of wood?
Who is him?
Yeah, that's Weigers. Okay.
Oh, that's Weigertz. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. That's not Randy. That's Weigers. And that's
So Randy was no artist. He was just a dealer.
Yeah, he was an art dealer.
Art dealer, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's, you know, he had taken it upon himself toward the end of his life, you know, to make Weigers, you know, more widely known as a sculptor. Okay. Yeah. Now, reality is that Weigers was pretty well known, you know, in the art community, you know, as a blacksmith and as a tool maker and as a creator. And, you know, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but, you know, but he made some really innovative blacksmithing and shop tools type stuff. And a lot of people followed him, you know, for a long period of time there. So anyway, this is one of his sculptures, and now this is a carved wood piece, and he did a lot of wood. He did cast bronzes. He did stone. He was really versatile, you know, as a sculptor, and did really some, you know, very beautiful pieces. Now remember, when he was working, he was kind of in his heyday, and around about the mid to late 30s, 40s, 50s, up until like the early 1960s. And that was really his, you know, highly productive period. And, you know, when you look at a lot of his sculptural pieces, they they have a very modern feel to them. You know, they're not like classical traditional sculpture. You know, as I said, you know, there's several books, you know, that he's written, you know, both on sculpture and tool making, stuff like that. As Randy was saying, you know, this is probably one of the most photographed Weigers sculptures, though I was not able to find an image of it anywhere on the internet of just the sculpture itself for whatever reason. But, you know, again, very kind of contemporary, modern. And it's that borderline, you know, between something that's classical and something that definitely says, you know, 20th century. This is another one of the books that he wrote, you know, The Making of Tools. And I think this is still, you know, I think this is still out in publication. A lot of people, you know, still go back and, you know, refer to this book because, I mean, he really was a kind of an inventor and innovator. This is the disc copter that the U.S. Air Force, you know, actually produced. You know, and some claim, you know, that they basically, you know, stole his idea. And when you look at it, it's a lot like the drawings that he did, you know, almost 20, 30 years before they built this. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. This is, unfortunately, you know, trying to find a lot of stuff online about him can be difficult. Now, if I'm looking at this, I'm guessing that this is a, you know, this was a plaster sculpture. And we're seeing really what looks like the back of it, you know, to me. Because, you know, you've got it looks like a male figure, you know, here, kind of draped over another shape or a form here, which could be a female figure. But that's kind of the backside of it. But if you look at this really carefully about how it's constructed, you know, he cast a block, you know, of plaster. And then, you know, he's cut and chiseled away and softened and polished it. And, you know, I'm not sure how big this is, but I've done sculptures out of plaster, like plaster of Paris before. And, you know, there's a lot of physical work involved in doing something like that. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. And, you know, you would think that plaster is, you know, particularly easy to carve. And in comparison to like stone or wood, it is. You know, the advantage to plaster is that if, for example, you know, you have an accident and carve off too much, you can always build more plaster back into it and then reshape it, carve it, sand it. And really, you know, with very little, you know, visible difference, you know, as far as the material goes. It looks like a single piece. This is I think this is a stone piece. It could be, you know, it could be a wax piece as well. Just looking at the color of it, it could be something that they took the casting off of. And if you look at this, you know, at first it's very abstract, but then you begin to see sort of a female figure emerge out of it with the hair. And, you know, it's like the more you look at it, you know, the more you see the form of it. And I'm thinking this is stone because the discoloration right through here looks like something that might occur in like some kind of natural stone.
It's not, that's no metal, it's stone?
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, stone.
Oh, stone.
Yeah. And, you know, if you look at the base of this, right, you know, there's a pin that comes up into the foot of this, keep it balanced. And And this would have to be fairly heavy, you know,
Yeah.
to balance out the stone. Another one of those considerations if you want to become a sculptor. Does anybody out there, has anybody tried sculpture before?
No.
When I was in junior high school, we had a shop class,
Mm-hmm.
it was not a typical shop class because we went into different kinds of. We did plastic carving, we did some sculpture, we did some pottery, just a whole variety of different kinds of most artistic, in a shop format.
Mm-hmm.
Which was really, really interesting class.
Yeah. Well, the thing about those classes are, you know, and I mean, when I went to high school, I took a shop class. I took a wood shop class. And, you know, out of all the classes I took in high school, you know, that was actually one of the more fun classes that I took. Because a lot of those instructors, you know, who teach shop, you know, when they get a hold of somebody who has some creativity and imagination, you know, they kind of latch onto them because the kind of stuff that you can create there is really fun, really unusual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had the shop teacher, you know, he was both a fine art teacher and he taught the wood shop class, and his name was John Spicer. And, you know, John taught me how to, you know, glue up blocks of wood, you know, as a bulk, and then carve the wood down and do wood sculpture. And, you know, and when you block it up, you have to pay attention to the direction of the grain and stuff, you know, and patch it in there so that as you're working, you know, you're not working from grain moving one direction to, you know, the next piece that's working the other. Otherwise, you end up, you know, tearing up the wood. And so it's really kind of a thought-provoking process. You know, you have to understand your materials and how you work with things. And, you know, art like that is really pretty interesting and can be really challenging, you know, to create. So, you know, anytime you see anybody working kind of three-dimensional, you know, it's, you know, just to get to this. Now, this is a bronze. And, you know, kind of thinking through the process of how he created this. And, you know, it had to start in his head, and he had to do drawings, and he probably, you know, spent some time working with actually like a live model, you know, and doing some drawing poses, and then taking those and beginning to simplify them and abstract them down. And then eventually he had to end up making, you know, what they call a maquette of it, probably either in plaster or wax, and, you know, and then scale that up and then do a final, you know, in bronzes, they use a process a lot of times called the lost wax method. And so originally, you know, what you would do with this piece is you would create it in a wax, like a microcrystalline wax, and it would be full size of the final sculpture. And then you would make a plaster casting of that wax piece, and that's what the foundry would actually cast, you know, in bronze, was that mold that you had created. And so, you know, it's a fairly complex process, and you have to have a lot of different skills and talents, you know, to really be able to pull that off well. So.
Another thing, a long time ago, I used to be in model railroads stuff, and a lot of the buildings that were available, an awful lot of the detail work on the buildings themselves were done in lost wax castings. Right. And I tried to emulate it once and said, that's too hard.
Yeah. I've done a couple sculpture pieces, you know, that I've taken to a bronze casting or a metal casting. And it can be, you know, it can really be a challenge. In fact, you know, what was it? It was probably about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. I got commissioned to do a bell for a group of people, and they're basically, for lack of a better name, bell ringers, and they get together and they create, music out of these handbells, and they wanted me to. They were going to have a convention here in Atlanta, and they wanted a cast bell, out of brass. And so, I ended up taking my crystal wax and then sculpting the bell. And that was a lot harder than I ever thought it would be. it was tough. And then, trying to work with a foundry to get, the things cast, and the big issue was trying to make it affordable, even in brass. They were, they wanted an incredible amount of money, to do a casting of these bells. And they wanted to make 400 bells. So it was, it was a major expense, to do that. But, just the process of working it out, working out a design, and, incorporating a handle, into the bell, because it had to be 2 pieces. And, you had the housing of the bell, with the, with the actual, like threads and stuff in it. And then you had the handle, and attached to the handle was that little part that hangs down, that's the ringer, right? And so you had 3 parts to cast, and then it had to be assembled, and then you would actually, take it out of the packaging, the box, and screw it together, and then you would have a working bell. So it was, it was a challenge. Probably one of the hardest things I've ever worked on. It was not easy to figure out. So this is a stone piece, and I don't know, has anybody ever tried to carve stone before? Me? Who's me?
That's Miss Bernice.
Oh, is that Bernice? Okay. All right.
I said not me. I said not me.
Not me. Not me. Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you what kind of stone you've worked with. A lot of people work with soapstone, and it's one of the softer, more sort of forgiving stones, because again, like wood, stone is a natural material, and it has, these, it's like almost like a grain to it, because of the way that the materials are layered on it. So there's some stone that's fairly easy to carve. And you don't have to worry about it breaking and chipping out and stuff a lot. Other different types of stone can be extremely difficult because, again, of the fissuring and stuff in it, and the way it's actually, put together.
Where you get soft stone?
Oh, well, you can order soapstone, and yeah, you can order it online. You can go down to like some of your local art stores, even probably like Michael's or Joanne. They probably can't get you a large. Well, I don't know. They might be able to order a large block of it, but you can order stone, and then you can sit and carve it and work with it. There's a lot of artists. Not a lot. Well, there's probably, I know of at least 5 or 6 different artists up in North Georgia. And one of the reasons that they like living up in North Georgia is because they can find natural stone, like soapstone and shale, things like that, and, work with it and carve it. And some of them make utilitarian items like pipes and things out of it. Other people, do actual sculptures out of it. And, but actually, the North Georgia Appalachian Mountains, actually have a lot of different stone stuff that you can work with and carve. One of the actual areas, I'm trying to think of the name of the town. It's before you get to Ball Ground. It's kind of like before
Tate,
yeah.
Tate, Georgia. Yep, they have marble.
Yeah, they have pink marble. Just
Yes.
kind of like this. Yeah. And actually, that's the thing that they're really known for, because it's like one of the, you know, rarest type of marbles that you can find anywhere on the planet. And you know, they've quarried a ton of this stuff out of there over the years. And you know, they ship that marble all over the world, you know, for, you know, sculptors and architects.
You can find marble in Tate.
Pardon?
Georgia. In Tate, Georgia, you can find marble.
Right. Well, you can find marble all over Georgia, actually. And that's the thing, you know, Georgia, you know, when you look at it geologically, there's a lot of granite and there's a lot of marble, you know, in this region. And, you know, and marble, you know, depending on where the deposit is, you know, it could vary in color, everything from, you know, kind of like a dark gray or a black all the way up to, you know, white. And so there's all kinds of marble, and marble comes in all kinds of different colors. So, and it just depends on the quarry it comes out of. So, yeah. Didn't know that about Georgia, did you?
I know. I went to Tate one occasion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they've got a big house up in Tate that's, you know, basically built out of the pink marble out of that quarry. It's a beautiful old house, kind of Victorian style.
Somebody got rich with the marble in that time, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, if you look at the details of the house, when you actually look at it, like I said, it's a Victorian house. And there's some amazing, like, pedestals and you know, things carved out of that marble on that house. And it's just, you know, the workmanship in there is just amazing. So here's another one of Weigers' sculptures. Again, you know, I'm kind of thinking it's probably a bronze, you know, a cast piece. This looks like a stone, probably a marble, you know, of a hand. Again, this is another one of his books. And he, you know, like I said, he was a really interesting character. And I think a lot of people, particularly back in like the 50s and 60s, he had a really strong following because he was good at taking and recycling, you know, materials. You know, like he would find scrap metal and stuff like that, you know, melt it down, cast it, you know, make his own tools. So really, really, you know, interesting, independent sort of guy. This is one of his prints. And, you know, he did a fair amount of, you know, print work. You know, he's a good draftsman. And I think it said that he was born like in the Dutch West Indies or whatever. He wasn't a U.S. citizen, you know. Well, he became a U.S. citizen, but you know, he wasn't born here.
You mean Weiger?
Weigers, yeah.
Yeah, he was from the Indonesia, yes.
Indies, yeah, not India. Anyway, yeah, this is another one of his prints.
Weigertz, name of the town.
Mm-hmm. So again, you know, very versatile artist. Yeah, I think this is that plaster sculpture that we saw from the back. So it looks like a female form from this side. But again, you know, a really nice balance between, you know, classical and contemporary. So he was very much so, you know, an artist of his time. And his work reflects that. A lot of you are from the South, Anybody recognize those flowers?
I do, but I don't remember the name.
I used to see those flowers in Atlanta, but those flowers are poisonous. So that's why I used to see this plant in Atlanta.
Well,
So
the seed pods are poisonous to your pets. Yes.
Yes.
You got to
So
be.
they stopped, growing those for that reason, because we're poison, yes, for the pets.
Yeah. I think they called them like angels, bells, or something like that. They're huge, and they come in a variety of colors. White, yellow, pink. But beautiful. Yeah. And they have kind of an interesting growing cycle. They basically, you got to cut them back all the way down to the ground, at the end of summer, early fall. And then, next spring, they begin to sprout, and they get big, they'll get 12, 15 feet tall, and then have all these flowers hanging on them.
I had friends that had one of those trees, and the blossom of the flower, those are huge in themselves.
Right.
They had yellow, and it was really gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I've seen those things really kind of all over, like North Georgia in particular. I haven't seen that many of them like in the southern part of the state. They tend to like that kind of Appalachian climate, and they do really well there. There's tons of them. I have a couple friends that live up in LJ, and they have a couple of those growing. Yeah, here's another one of the takeoffs of Weigers' disc copter technology, and there's his drawings. Now remember that these were done, the original drawings were done back in the 1920s. And he tried to market this. I think he tried to market it to the US government, because that would have been really right at the end of World War II. So, somehow I've got Eloise's work in here. To get that out. Yeah.
Am I going to be highlighted now?
Well, tomorrow you are.
It's just grouping all the famous people together.
That's right. There we go.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I told you should have taught the class today.
So here's another one of Weigers, and he did a lot of like men and women, and also like men, women, and children, kind of like family type themes. But beautiful work. So I think this is the front side of that sculpture we saw with all the hair. And as you can see, it's a woman and a child. So, yeah, pretty sure that's stone. It's actually really quite hard to find a lot of his stuff online. So, this is kind of a surprise to me.
So this child has a grown man face.
You think he has a grown man's face?
Yeah, he doesn't have a child's face. No.
Yeah. It doesn't look too baby-like, does it? Yeah. Tiny flying saucer. Okay. Well, and then of course we're going to feature June Wang in here too. Let's see. Boy, how did all that stuff get in there? Okay, so yeah, another one of his blacksmithing books. And there's another takeoff on the disc copter thing. Yeah, there's that sculpture. So, beautifully done stuff. Really, really nice. This is one of the prints and drawings. I think that, the art dealer, Randy, I think he was fairly successful at marketing like a lot of these prints that Weigers you know, the concept drawings and stuff. There's a lot of people who collected those. This looks like probably a wood. Yeah, this is a wood sculpture. So, you know, beautiful kind of simplification of forms and things. This is abstract sort of print. So as you can see, you know, Weigers was really pretty diverse. I mean, he did a lot of different stuff. You know? It's kind of hard to, you know, pigeonhole him into, you know, he was, you know, a printer, a sculptor, you know, I mean, a blacksmith, tool maker. So. Anybody got any thoughts about this guy? You know, like his stuff, don't like his stuff. Yeah. Get it, don't get it.
I like some of it.
Okay.
I
Bernice?
love some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah. Well, that's, yeah, I think that's pretty universal. You know, for anybody. Yeah. It's hard to find, you know, an artist that you love everything that they do. But, you know, some of it you know, you respond to. And that's kind of the interesting thing about the story with this guy, Randy, the art dealer. You know, he probably could have done, you know, so many other things, you know, with his time, you know, toward the end of his life. And the fact that, you know, he had found, you know, this particular artist, and there was something that resonated with him. You know, he had a passion, you know, for this guy's work. And you know, like he said, you know, it kind of created this mission for him to, you know, produce, you know, or not produce the work, but to, you know, to promote it and to get it out there, you know, so that people knew about this guy. Because, you know, he was, as an artist, Weigers was, you know, in many ways relatively unknown. And, you know, even during Weigers' life, even though he did a lot of sculpture and stuff like that, it had never found a market, you know, and been for sale. And so when this guy came across his work and the access to all the different molds and the pieces and things that he had done, you know, it gave him an opportunity as an art dealer, you know, to really promote this guy and get his work out there. And Weigers did, you know, some beautiful work. He really did. So luckily, you know, somebody came along and took an interest and promoted it. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't see much of it even on the internet today. But anyway, that's kind of the story with a lot of, you know, different artists. And you don't necessarily become famous in your lifetime, right? Anyway. All right. So as I promised, we're going to move on. We're going to go to something a little more mainstream, a little more conventional. And I have a fun video to show you. I'm sure, well, you know, I'm sure that some of you have had this experience before. But I found this video really fascinating and kind of fun and interesting. So I'm going to share it with you. And it's of this young man who's out, you know, in New York City, and he's painting. And, you know, some of the reactions and things, you know, to his artwork. And anyway, can everybody see that? You know, guys standing around out in the park, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh,
Love that. That's what I
that's
can
the right
do.
one.
Hey, that's what I can tell you too. If this is irrelevant, I think I just want to be irrelevant. Yeah, enjoy yourself. I'm trying to tell you. Are you an artist? Yeah, I'm an artist. I had a feeling you were an artist. Yeah. Are you headed over to the Met right now? Look. Before you just, if you don't understand what I'm trying to tell you, I totally understand what you're trying to tell me. Many people have told it to me, and so there is a lot of people going to tell you, "Oh, beautiful, gorgeous, whatever." So enjoy yourself. I'm not meaning to make you upset. You just came along and said that I wasn't doing real art.
I think you're doing real art.
If someone comes along and says that to you, I defend my art, right?
Yeah, you do. It's beautiful.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Once again to plein air painting in an urban environment. As always, I'm here in New York City. Today we're going to be painting in beautiful Central Park. Should be a nice, relaxing time painting. The sun's always moving, so let's get started.
Okay, just real quick. If you guys went out plein air painting with me, and some of you have been out, you know, quite a few times with me, what would I be telling you right now?
Put in blocks of color.
Well, I think it's like, put down that little brush and go get a big
That's
brush.
true. Yeah, put the little brush down, put in blocks of color.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the first thing I would be telling you is like, stop messing with that little brush. I mean, you know, at first, you know, he was kind of laying out his initial lines and stuff like that. Okay, all right, but yeah, he's sticking with that one brush. He won't give it up, you know. And he's, you know, it's like, you know, look, you know, you got that little dinky thing there, and I don't know, you know, maybe he doesn't have any bigger brushes. I have no idea. But
He also didn't put in any undertone on the canvas. It's just left it white.
yeah, he did. He just kind of went straight into it. And you know, I mean, I've seen a lot of people work like that. And you know, if you work with a big brush and stuff, start putting in blocks of color, it doesn't usually take that long to get rid of all that white. Okay. The other thing I was going to pick on about him, you know, is that I don't know whether you noticed, but he's wearing the pair of sunglasses, right? and the thing is, you know, even like polarized sunglasses, they're really going to affect the contrast and the color of what you're trying to paint. But in his particular case, he's wearing those, you know, it's kind of like these brownish or reddish tint.
Yeah, they look red. I noticed that right away.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, those, I mean, they take all of the color out of, you know, what you're seeing. And so, yeah, you know, he's doing a couple things there that are kind of questionable to me, you know, being out there, you know, doing plein air painting. And so I just wanted to point those out to you.
But in defense, he's not really painting any color yet. So
No, right now he's pretty much so just doing, you know, his basic layout, trying to find where things are, right? Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see what the end looks like.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Off for music.
Discussing the relationship apart in a whole.
Oh. Oh. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there for a second. Just take a look at what he's doing. So, you know, he's finally got his block in, right? He's got his big masses and shapes, lights and darks, right? And it's beginning to kind of come together. You know, it's kind of beginning to look like it's got a little bit of distance and depth and shape and form in it. And he's using a bigger brush now. Yay!
Yes.
Right. And notice too, now one thing that he's doing that, you know, I'm not really familiar with his particular work overall, but when he started laying in the color blocks, he actually started working with the lights, and he started working with some really, really thick, heavy passages of paint. And he carried that over into the darker values as well. So at this point, you know, when he did his initial drawing and layout, all of the paint was fairly thin. And then as soon as he started laying paint in, he started really kind of piling in quite a bit of paint in both the darks and the lights. Now, you can do that. The problem, you know, that I always encounter in working, you know, that kind of process is that it's like once you get a lot of paint down there, then you have to use a lot more finesse as far as, you know, controlling the brush and, you know, being able to work into those really, really wet areas. So most of the time, you know, when I'm approaching this, it's like I'll start, you know, with very thin paint, and then I'll build it up, you know, slowly. And that thick paint is really sort of the last, you know, passage, you know, in the painting. And for the most part, you know, in my work, the midtones and the darks tend to be, you know, relatively thin. And then the lights are the things that have more body in the paint. And, you know, when you're working plein air, the advantage of doing that is that you can still keep applying, you know, paint and not make it, you know, like really muddy, where you're cutting through all of those layers of paint because you've got, you know, all this stuff on there, and, you know, it's hard. You really got to have a sensitive touch to just lay, one layer of paint down on another. So, anybody got anything to?
I think it reminds me that maybe he was impressed with Vincent van Gogh. When he was seeing some of his videos, seeing him sitting outside painting.
Yeah.
And the children didn't think that his was too cool either at the time. They were making fun of him, so.
Well, the process that he's using is, it's very much so an impressionist process. Again, though, if you look at, painters like Degas, even Monet, they built up paint over time, but they really started, with a little bit less. The issue here is that he's pretty much so using straight paint, and it doesn't appear like he's adding a lot of medium and stuff to it. So, it's at a certain point, it becomes really hard, as I said, to, lay one layer over another because you don't have that contrast between fat and lean. And, it's always easier to lay fat paint over a leaner passage. And that's kind of traditionally kind of the process, for oil painting. But anyway, let's see where he goes from here, because I think he's got to get a lot more color in there.
Yeah, that's the light at that time of day on the website is really neat. It's just like it changes so fast that it's hard to say, but I like it.
All right, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
yeah, you can.
We used to come in this side, now we
Yeah.
come in this side, and when you have a dog, you have to.
Oh, I know. I have a 2-year-old son, and when I'm done with this, I'm back in the car. I'll walk with him all day when it's nice out.
Sure. Yeah, it's the best. It's a major value add.
He's having fun running around. I've gotten to know the playground.
Of course.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. My name's Woody. Enjoy the weather. Bear. Hi, Bear.
We're gonna have
If you have a swollen prostate, you must see this. Dr. Nima Sharifi was awarded $1 million for his paradigm-shifting discovery. Did
Yeah, boy. So impression. I enjoy looking at impression scenes. I decided I'd like to try thinking. But there's a lot of people that do what's already done. Yeah. The point is to make something that who you are and make it in your own way. Yeah, people will recognize what you do. Let's see, impressionism is gone long time ago. It's done. Yeah, you're right. Anybody trying to imitate copy, they're going to say, oh, look like Cezanne, Matisse, whatever, Pissarro, but it's nothing close to that. That's past, But you have to
find your own style and you would say, wow, this is different. This is unique. See beauty, how he captured that. That way, it makes a difference. It's funny, I had to say that exact same thing to him. It's not about you, your personality, it's the truth about artistry. You want to be something to
No, but I mean, they come upon one of my paintings and they said, I've never seen beauty portrayed in that exact way ever.
Look, if you, what I'm trying to tell you, I understand. Look, if they say it like that, that you portray them, then you keep going. But I am trying to tell you, people who deal with art, collect, who want to invest.
I'm not after that. I'm after making art that I like and I enjoy doing. I have fun doing it.
Yeah, but it's like you don't get it. If you do something that's already done, then that's different. If you do create something that is you and then it's fun, then you are relevant at this time. You are something different.
Yeah.
If you're gonna repeat what there is a lot of people who can do repeat. Even Van Gogh, like you see all of this exhibit, it's like you think it's like amazing how they repeat. There is people trained who can make a copy, but it's nothing. Not piece or the Monet or all of them. You can copy original Monet. If it's not original, it's also maybe
That's why I like to paintings after.
yeah, but you have to make something your own way, not to imitate some other artist.
I'm not trying to imitate it.
Well, that mistakes comes like impressionism. If people get categorized impressionism, then it's like, you know, what can you do with it? It's a competition, you know, so you can figure out, you know.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have any advice on how I can find my my own thing and not
You have to
try
learn,
to do what's already done?
you have to learn from the nature how you see the nature. Don't think about, it's like all those styles of history. It's very important to know that what has happened. And you read that. That's nice. But you have to learn how you want to symbolize, how you want to capture that in your way that relates to you. So you have to not copy nature, but see from the nature what is there that capture your attention, and then you get that. But if you get to copy and it's like photographic and leave style that has been done, it's like you just wasting time. No matter what you're gonna tell me, it's beautiful. You say, oh, I want to make painting that I enjoy, that I like. You know, that's the point of being an artist. But if you don't get to search what is you, how you see.
This guy thinks I'm wasting my time doing this. What do you think?
Huh? Dude, do what you love, man.
That's what I think too.
That's what I'm telling you too.
If this is irrelevant, I think I would just want to be irrelevant.
Yeah, enjoy yourself. I'm trying to tell you.
Are you an artist?
Yeah, I'm an artist.
I had a feeling you were an artist.
Yeah.
Are you headed over to the Met right now?
Look, the point is, if you don't understand what
Inaudible.
I totally understand what you're trying to tell me. Many people have told it to me, and
so there is a lot of people gonna tell you, oh, beautiful, gorgeous, whatever. So enjoy yourself.
I'm not meaning to make you upset. You just came along and said that I wasn't doing real art.
I think you're doing real art.
If someone comes along and says that to you, I need to defend my art, right?
Yeah, you do. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. He said I need to do something new, that I'm just copying the Impressionists, and that's already been done.
Oh,
and I said I'm not after something new. I'm after having a fun time outside painting.
All been done before. There's no such thing as originality.
Yeah, I know.
Like, just
and that's not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm trying to do something
You don't
new.
need to defend yourself to him. His opinion does not matter. It looks great.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay, before we watch the conclusion of this, anybody have any reactions to that conversation?
Well, I think if the guy, he's trying to paint and having fun painting, and the other guy come criticize it, just leave the guy alone. Let him do whatever he wants and whatever he can do.
Okay.
That I think that was kind of negative attitude there.
Okay. Anybody else?
It seems like the guy that was talking to him wanted him to do something different. That just don't copy nature, but do something different, which you might imagine or might see. And that way you'll have something new, not something similar to what people have had all the time. And also the lady who said that there is no such thing as original art. And I think I remember you saying many times that artists always look at or influenced by other artists. So I don't know how then you do make original art.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I think he's trying to, I think he's doing exactly what this guy was criticizing him for. He was saying that he shouldn't copy other people. He's doing what everybody's influenced by what they've seen, and he's creating art based on what makes him feel good and makes him feel happy as an artist. And that's what's important. And I don't think he's trying to copy anybody or any style necessarily. He's absorbed his influences, and he's obviously enjoying what he's doing. So I thought it was a pretty harsh criticism, and I'd love to see what that guy does.
Yeah, I'm agree with you.
Anybody else? Come on, jump on in.
Robert, what you say? Wanted to say?
You know, the pool's wet. Get in. Bob, what do you think?
He's he's busy.
Bob is busy?
I guess.
Yeah. Eloise, you got anything to say about that?
Miss
Well,
Bernice?
there are different styles of art, different ways of painting and everything. I think you should do what you feel comfortable doing, what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own opinion. Mine is only worth 2 cents, so I don't know how much theirs is worth.
Right.
At least he's doing better than me.
I think the definition of art is so broad. So they've sold art paintings where an elephant put his foot in the paint and then put it on some paper, and people said that was art and paid a lot of money for it. So
actually, they have elephants who use their trunk, and they do actually paint with a brush.
The brush, okay.
Yeah, and they do sell that as art.
Yes,
yes. You know, and actually, you know, some of those elephants do some pretty nice paintings. You know, actually, I've seen a few of them.
Yeah.
But you know, what we've got here is we've got two different philosophical arguments. Okay. And it brings up a lot of interesting questions, you know, because the fact is, okay, this young man, he's creating an impressionist painting. That's what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he clearly, you know, stated and admits that he admires the impressionist painters. All right. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. You know, and in fact, you know, I think that impressionism today is just as valid as it was back in, you know, the mid 1800s. Now, you know, is it original? No, the process, you know, and the approach to the painting is not, okay. But even if you're doing, you know, paintings in impressionist styles, even today, you know, it's not so much about the technique as your choice in what it is that you paint and sort of the viewpoint, you know, from the artist, because, and that's the difference, you know, regardless of the style that you paint in, what you're bringing to the table as an artist is your own personal experience in life, you know, your own viewpoint, and you're trying to talk and communicate to people, you know, through the use of that brush and those colors and how you arrange them up there on that canvas. Now the guy, you know, who came by and made the comments, okay, a lot of what he has to say, you know, I wouldn't dismiss it. Okay. And I think, you know, he genuinely was trying to make a constructive comment. And in a way, he was trying to encourage this guy to stop, slow down, really kind of look at things. And it's like, okay, so I'm going to paint a tree, you know, and I'm working on this tree. So how am I going to make this tree mine? and not make it Monet's or Degas or, you know, somebody else's, but, you know, make it my tree, the way I see trees, the way I paint trees, you know, my understanding of what that is. And so in that sense, you know, I kind of, you know, I don't want to take sides one side or the other. I mean, certainly this young man, you know, has every right and every, you know, I mean, it's his painting, you know, let him paint it the way he wants. But at the same time, you know, the older gentleman was bringing up some valid points that, you know, I think he should at least consider, maybe not on this painting, you know, but to sit down and really kind of think about, okay, if I'm going to paint trees and you know, park scenes and things around the city, how am I going to portray those, and how am I going to make them look like, you know, I'm painting in 2021 or 2020 or, you know, whenever this was filmed. Yeah, kind of get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. And that's always the struggle, you know, because it's like, and it, you know, there's no easy answer to it. You know, it's always a lot of work. It's like, you know, how do I make this mine? And how do I make it relevant?
But then again, how can that other gentleman or anybody else say that that isn't how he sees a tree, or that isn't what he feels?
Yeah.
I mean, I think only the artist knows that.
Right.
And while you can express opinions, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that,
Mm-hmm.
but to say that everybody's got to paint something different than what they're doing, who knows how long this guy's been painting, or
right,
how much experimentation he's done in the past,
mm-hmm.
or whether this is actually what he has tried after trying other things. This is him. So who can really say that?
Yeah, and you don't know. And you know, the fact is, yeah, I mean, you know, maybe maybe this is it for him. You know, maybe this is what he does. And that's fine. You know, and again, you know, if you listen to what, you know, this young guy has to say, you know, he's out there, you know, he's doing this because he likes the process. You know, he enjoys the process. He enjoys being out there. He kind of feels connected to what he's doing. And, you know, that's always the struggle with art, you know, because it's like in a big way, as an artist, you have to do the things that feed you, you know, that feed your soul, that make you happy, you know, that you enjoy. You know, if you're constantly pushing yourself and struggling, you know, to always do something different and unique and stuff like that, you know, I think that kills a lot of the joy in the process of painting. So you've got to strike a balance, you know, but at the same time, you know, there's so many different aspects to creating art, you know, that it's not a black and white, you know, it's not a, you know, this is right and this is wrong. It's you've got to kind of go with what feels right for you. So
I concur because I think that he has probably found the type of art that he loves, and it's easy for him to do that. And so he's comfortable with that. And I concur with what you said, what Betty said. But also we have one of our fellow students who has found his own way that he loves to do art, and that's Zurin. He has a special kind of way that he loves it, and that's his signature. It's kind of like in music. You can tell some artists when they play that who that artist is on the first couple of notes. I like Wes Montgomery when he's playing the guitar, or Billy Joel. You'll know that who that is playing or who is singing. So this is the same thing with art. When you're painting, if you paint long enough, you might end up getting a signature. People can tell. I know you can tell our art, Charles. Mm-hmm. No matter whether we sign it or not. After you know us for a while, you know our style and what we're going to do. So I think he's found his niche, and maybe he wants to develop it even further, but still stay in that mode and that style of painting. I don't think he's ever expecting maybe to make a lot of money, unless maybe once he's dead, like the Impressionists. But I think he's good doing what he likes to do.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, the reason that I showed this video is because it brings up these questions. And, you know, these are things that we all have to struggle with, you know, as an artist. Is, you know, what are we really doing this for? You know, are we trying to change history? You know, do we want to be, you know, in the history books of, you know, this is the greatest artist of the 21st century or something like that? That'd be nice, you know, it would be. But at the end of the day, you know, you've got to be happy with what you're doing, you know, and you've got to kind of, it's like, you got to stay connected with, you know, your gut, you know, and do the things that make you happy, the things that call to you. And, you know, I think if I had a criticism of this young man, it's, you know, the guy, I think, was trying to tell him something, and it's like the way he received it, he sort of shut him down a little bit. And you know, I mean, I've been in that situation before, where you're standing out there and, you know, people are walking by and they have comments and they share their opinions with you, and that's okay, you know. And you know, I guess you have to kind of build up a tough skin as an artist. And it's like, okay, you know, hear it, listen to it, you know. That doesn't mean you have to do it, but, you know, kind of hear what they're saying and try to take it, you know, in the best kind of constructive way possible, if at all, you know. And that's a tough skill to build up. It really is. You build up a lot of that too at art shows. You know, if you ever try to sell your work and, you know, you're out there, you know, at an art fair or something like that, people are walking by and looking at your work, you know, you would be amazed at stuff that you hear, you know, when people look at your work. So, yeah. Anyhow,
one thing that I always remember is that they've never built a statue to a critic.
Right.
So
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I mean, honestly, they haven't. You know, though there have been, you know, some fairly well-known critics who were pretty influential, you know, about, you know, changing the direction of art and things. You know, Ruskin was a prime example of that. He's probably the most famous critic of all time. And without Ruskin, you know, the pre-Raphaelites and even the Impressionists, you know, would have, you know, never gotten any traction whatsoever. So, you know, critics can be influential, you know, and they're kind of, in some ways, an essential part of the mix, you know, of culture and art. But, yeah, but you're right, you know, they're, for the most part, you know, you're not going to find statues of them. You know, you're gonna find, you know, homages to, you know, people like Degas and, you know, Monet, people who actually did the art. So, let's finish this up.
Okay, so the painting's finished. As you can see, you're always going to get a lot of comments painting outside. It's funny, when I paint in the city in the thick of things, All I get is positive comments, and I'm out here in the open air in the park trying to relax, and you get some criticism, but that's okay. That's what it's all about, and I like to hear both sides of the story. I know why I'm out here doing this, and what someone says walking by isn't going to change the reason I'm doing it and why I'm doing it in any way. I'm pretty firm in what I like and what I want to do, and no passing comments are going to affect that. So it's been an interesting day. If you like this video, if you like this painting, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to being with you in another day of plein air painting in New York City. Have a good one.
Well, he's making some money just through subscriptions.
There we go. Okay. You gotta stop it before you go too far there. Okay.
He's making money.
He's making money? Yeah.
Well, if people subscribe to his channel, he's making money.
Well, yeah, he's trying to get followers.
Thousands and thousands of people, we never know.
Right. Yeah, actually, that's something that we talked about in that conference was, YouTube and how, you can actually make a fairly decent living, creating content on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, there's a lot of people out there these days that that's exactly what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They're sitting there at their computers and they're doing podcasts and things like that, and gaining followings. But the YouTube part of it is just a kind of the tip of the iceberg. It's the content. What they're talking about. You're kind of drawing people in. But a lot of this conference that I went to, what it was all about was, okay, so how do you take the things where you're sharing information with people and then you turn it into a product? You begin to, turn it into, something where you're going to make an income from. And, YouTube is had been a really viable platform for that. That's changing. And now a lot of people are leaving that platform and doing other things, like independent podcast, Instagram, things like that. And they're building up a following.
Okay, he's back.
There he is. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there-
Can you hear me now?
Leave us.
Yeah. Unintentionally. I mean, it's just like all of a sudden, it's like, okay, yeah, connect to the meeting. Yeah, okay. I didn't disconnect. What happened?
We just figured you were getting fed up with us for the morning.
Yeah, nothing like that. I love everyone. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, okay, we could jump in, we could do another video, things like that. But yeah, we're getting close on the time. And I think, yeah, because we got about 10, 15 minutes. Okay. So out of the things you saw today, let's kind of talk about that a little bit, because we covered a lot of ground. You got a young guy out there, painting in the park, kind of creating his art and dealing with, the public, more or less. And I know that some of you have had that experience as well. And then you have this other guy, Alexander Weigers, who a very creative guy, but, didn't become a household name, and so, he made a good living, and was successful in some realms, particularly like blacksmithing and tools, and influenced, that community of people in many ways, as well as, you know, his connection was that very early on, you know, he was an influence to what we would really kind of consider the counterculture, you know, and, you know, people who found alternative lifestyles. And he was doing an alternative lifestyle long before it was fashionable in the 60s. And so, you know, he ended up influencing like a whole younger generation of people who were creative, not just, you know, like sculptors, but also, you know, writers and musicians and folks like that. You know, to be able to kind of look at someone who's doing something that's so different than what's conventional, and, you know, to open up, you know, their mind to the idea that, okay, you know, I don't have to follow this set path. You know, I can do something else. You know, he, in many ways, you know, he was very influential on, you know, society as we know it today, you know, without really being recognized as that. So, and you know, he's not the only one. You know, there were lots of people, you know, who were doing that.
I think he had too many things going on, too much diversity, that he just didn't get recognized enough with one. If he had less things going, maybe more concentrated on sculpture, for example, he might have gotten more recognition that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's some validity in that argument. You know, and that's one of the struggles, again, you know, as being a kind of creative person. You know, could you be happy, I guess, as a creative person, just doing that one thing? You know, if that's all you did, if all he did was sculpture, you know, maybe the sculpture didn't feed him, you know, it didn't feed his soul most of the time. You know, maybe, you know, sitting down and, you know, trying to figure out how to make a round disc fly was something that, you know, he was really passionate about, you know?
And look at Da Vinci, how diversified he was and how many areas of art he was involved in. I mean, amazing different tangents that he went on.
Yeah, yeah. It's, you know, Da Vinci.
He was almost the same way with the technical and mechanical as well as the art.
Yeah. The thing you have to remember about Da Vinci is that within his lifetime, you know, the way people viewed him, he really wasn't viewed as an artist, you know, for the most part. That's not what he, you know, that's not what people recognized during his lifetime. What they really recognized him as was as an inventor, and particularly of things that would kill people. You know? Well, because that's, I mean, you know, that's how he made a living, was that he designed things like catapults and tanks, you know, before tanks and helicopters and submarines and things like that had ever really been made, you know, or thought of before. You know, he came up with ideas, you know, for those. And he did that not just on his own, he did it at the bequest of his benefactors, you know, like the Medici. Because, you know, if you think about historically what was going on then, you know, Italy as a country didn't really exist then. You know, it was a lot of small city states, and they were constantly at war with each other, you know, struggling with each other. And so, you know, Da Vinci really made his living, you know, for the most part, you know, not as an artist, but, you know, really as an inventor of ways to, you know, create some military, you know, advantage, you know, for.
And he also did some beneficial things, like a system of dikes that would divert rivers. And
oh yeah,
I mean, he did a lot of constructive things, not just items of destruction. Yeah. And he was commissioned to do paintings by the Medicis.
Yeah.
So I think he was pretty diversified even then, and accepted in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, the point I was trying to make is that, you know, the way he was viewed during his lifetime, you know, if you take a look at why people were wanting to bring him into their sphere of influence, it was because, you know, he was very creative in designing things. And like you said, you know, he was an architect, he was an engineer, he was an artist, right? An inventor, a scientist, you know. I mean, yeah, he was probably as broad and diverse as anybody who has lived on the planet so far. Now, he did a little of everything, which is pretty amazing. You know, it's a interesting story all in itself. But you know, that brings us back to today. Okay, so you know, there's the 9 or 10 of us who are here, and it's like, okay, so what are we doing? You know, what are we creating? And you know, I guess, you know, you have to ask yourself, what are you creating it for? You know, why are you doing this? And that's something that I want each and every one of you to kind of think about a little bit. It's like, you know, what's my goal? You know, am I just doing this, you know, at this point to please myself? Or, you know, where am I trying to end up at? You know, and where's my audience? You know, who am I talking to? So that's a tough question. It is. Anybody got any ideas about that?
Yeah, I would think as we age and we're older, our ambitions are probably less, and things we do are more make ourselves content rather than changing the world.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Anybody got any thoughts about that?
I think you've asked the question before, you know, why do we create art? And we see a big variety, even within our group of people that do it for different reasons. And so I do think if there's some advantage to being older and being able to focus on what you want and what you want to do. And the answer to that question now may be very different than how we would have answered it 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Yeah. You know, I know for me, I've been doing this my whole life. And what I wanted to accomplish and what I wanted to do when I was 25 or 30, if I had to go back and do it again, you know, I might do some different things. But, now that I'm kind of on the cusp of retiring, you know, it's like the direction of my art and what I want to do with it is really different. You know, it's not, you know, it doesn't really have to go anywhere, right? For me, it's kind of about, you know, as I get close to retirement, you know, I think more about, you know, becoming almost. I keep going away.
Yeah,
yes, you do.
Yeah, we have to repeat what you said.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, you know, not that I have any control over it. It's like, yeah, the internet is kind of spotty here today. Let's blame it on the sunspots. How about that?
There you go.
No, all I was saying is, you know, that now that I'm kind of getting close to retiring, you know, I saw a comment on Facebook over the weekend, yeah. And somebody was asking the question, you know, like, you know, now that I'm retired, you know, all I really want to do is paint. Is that okay? Why not? You know, it's like, you know, retirement brings, you know, it's a freedom. You know, you're released. You know, you're released from deadlines and schedules and, you know, answering to a boss, right? And so you get to be your own boss. And you get to make up your own mind, you know, make your own choices. So.
We had to do the job that was going to pay the bills and for your family. you can do that which you love. And if you did, it was only for a minute or two. So give you a chance to just go down your bucket. I think Charles is out again.
Oh
no.
Yeah, it's getting kind of spotty over here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Time to hang it up.
Well,
I mean, Claudia was in the middle. I got a word or two here and there.
Yeah, well, just about the bucket list. I think, and before you retire, everybody should have a bucket list. I have seen people retire without a bucket list. And sometimes the bucket list has one thing on it or just two. And if they get ill, they can't do either one of those things that they had on their list. Maybe it means travel and they can't travel at all. They want to travel and see the world. Now they can't travel. So what do? So you have a good bucket list of things that you think you might want to explore that you never explored before. And there's so many things that I think you can fall in love with and amuse yourself and not worrying about other people to entertain you. Now you love to go out to dinner all the time. You can't do that sometimes. So what can you do for you? And art is just one of those things. Writing is one of those things. Reading books. There's so many things I think you can find that you can find a passion for and enhance your life. And well, maybe perhaps you'll be a more pleasant person to live with.
Now that's a whole nother discussion. Yeah, we'll have to save that for a whole class all on itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you become a pleasant person so other people living in your house can put up with you?
Yes.
I could probably take a course in that. if you ask the right person, yeah, I'm sure she would tell you. It's like, yeah, you ain't easy. Anyway, okay. Anybody else got anything that they want to throw in before we go away?
I think that for the second artist that was plein air painting, that man in New York had a lot of nerve.
People in New York do have a lot of nerve.
I was gonna say New York, Veronica, it's New York.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's a certain veneer of civility in most of the world that just doesn't seem to exist in New York.
Right. Yeah, that brought that back. I was like, oh man, I would have to readjust again to somebody might, saying something.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's like
I see the picture on your photo online here now. I see you look great, just like an artist. And I wonder what the guy from New York who was walking down the street would say about your painting.
Oh, he'd probably, he'd say the same thing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful picture of you painting.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's like, sure. I mean, I don't make any pretense, the fact that in many ways, one of my personal struggles as an artist is that I paint in a very traditional way.
I do too.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I don't, I mean, I've experimented with abstract painting and stuff like that. And that kind of gets back to the point that I was talking about earlier. As an artist, I think the one thing that stands out to me is you have to paint your own time. Okay. How you go about doing that, I think it's a very personal thing. And you can do it as a totally non-representational style. You can do it as a very traditional style. But make it timely, don't try to make your figures and people like that look like they were from the Renaissance. Have them be who they are, today. And it makes that art relevant to the time that we live in now. So, I mean, that's,
Charles, just during this class period, we've seen you sort of work outside your comfort zone and try different things.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, I think as an artist, I mean, you have to, you know. If you ever get to the point where you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you may enjoy that, but you know, at a certain point, it's like you get good at it. So it's like, how do you stretch it? How do you grow? You know, how do you keep it interesting? You know, how do you keep learning, you know, something new? Because the more you know as an artist, the more that ends up in that painting with whatever approach you want to take to it. It's like the better you understand the world around you, you know, both externally and also internally, you know, the more you have to talk about, you know, as an artist. You know, and I'm not talking about just painters, you know, I mean, you know, painters, sculptors, writers, musicians, you know, it's, you gotta have both. And so, you know, you always have to be asking questions. You know, when you stop doing that, I don't know, you know, I think you're dead, you know, so that's just my own personal opinion. So
Get that bucket list.
anyway, all right. So tomorrow at 2:00, I'm going to be sharing some of the things that you guys have sent in from, mainly from Friday. You know, I haven't gotten that many of those drawings, but I've gotten a few. And so if you have work, you know, that you want to talk about, things that you want to look at, things you want to discuss, send it to me, okay? And please do not wait until, you know, like 1:15 or 1:20 to do it, okay? You know, try to think of it a little bit earlier, if you will, okay? That makes life a little bit easier, okay?
Yes.
I appreciate it. All right, anyway, it was great seeing all of you. You know, I hope everybody's well, and I will see you tomorrow at 2:00, right?
Okay, so long, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. See ya.